Okay, next on the list, we're gonna actually piggyback a couple of guys together because one guy who scored very nicely within this threshold of the score is Hollywood Brown, who just moved from Arizona over to Kansas City. Hollywood's score post-draft capital back when he was drafted was 79.38. And his new teammate, Rasee Rice, actually, we just dropped a graphic this morning of him showing his score of 74.05. So very dynamic wide receiver room in Kansas City, which almost to me starts to signify a transition away from Travis Kelce being the centerpiece. Not that either of these guys are going to be the full centerpiece while he's there, but they're starting to look at life after Travis Kelce potentially. What do you think this Chiefs offense looks like with these guys? And what's your stance on Hollywood Brown? Because he's had a bit of an up and down career going from Baltimore to Arizona, now to Kansas City. Looks like wheels are up though, eh?
Yeah, I think, wheels up is probably a pretty fair statement. I think it's going to be health related, Trav, right? Because I think we saw, what he's able to do with a guy like Kyler Murray in those first kind of 5-6 games before Kyler ended up getting hurt and tearing his ACL the year prior. We saw what he was kind of able to do there, right? I think he was wide receiver 6 through week 5 of that season. So with a gifted thrower being, kind of, let's call it, this is where the conversation is going to lie, right? Like, does he have the ability to out-target Rasee in somebody like that offense, right? Like, I think Kelce's probably still the king of the castle when it comes to targets. But what does the target competition look like? I do think that initially I thought there would probably be a little bit of overlap, right? With kind of some of the things that they do well, whether it be, I think they're both kind of slant guys. Kind of a little bit initial thoughts were the way that Hollywood's been used a little bit more recently was that shorter kind of middle of the field stuff, which is where we saw Rasee thrive last year, right? But I got to think that the way that the Chiefs are thinking about this is kind of getting Hollywood back to his little bit of his deep prowess ways, right? Like pushing the ball downfield a little bit more. And if that's the case, it probably makes them much more difficult to game plan for, right? I think so much of their stuff, when you look at them last year, whether it was Travis Kelce or Rasee Rice, so much of their stuff was done within like 7 yards of the line of scrimmage. And like just thinking about the Kansas City Chiefs and kind of how they've operated those last couple of years, it's an adjustment as a viewer kind of looking at something like that, right? After watching them push the ball down the field with somebody like Tyreek and everything like that. But I think it speaks to the fact of how good Andy Reid is with working with what he has. But I think what this does is look, when you look at where Hollywood Brown came in, really strong guy, came in at 14th overall at, with a score just under 80 in the model, right? So you're talking like, 93rd percentile, right around there, 92nd percentile, which is, it's a great score. We've seen him be productive with a good quarterback in the past. I think if you're an owner right now looking at Hollywood Brown and looking at Rasee Rice, what are you kind of hoping for? You're hoping for Hollywood to unlock some more for Patrick Mahomes downfield, which in effect will open up some more underneath stuff for Rasee Rice. That's kind of the way I see it, Trav. I don't know what you have as far as initial thoughts, but I do think there's room for both of them to coexist, and not only coexist, but I think they can do some different things and thrive there together.
Yeah, and I think the key to their coexisting is Hollywood's versatility, really, because both of those guys and Travis Kelce are dynamite out of the slot. Like both of them are really good, those receivers. Rasee Rice made his hay a lot out of the slot last year, doing it after the catch and stuff like that. He moved around too, though. Hollywood, even back to his Baltimore days, like when he was in Baltimore, he was taking deep shots from the slot at like an insane rate. So he can do a ton of different things from different places on the field. I do think he's going to make his bread downfield because Rasee Rice came on strong last season. Might be a bit of a selfish take because I am a huge Rasee truther. But that's kind of what I'm seeing is, yeah, they'll eat into each other by moving around a little bit, but they're going to operate in a little bit different areas of the field. And they can be interchangeable in other areas of the field as well, where they can both operate separate from each other. And I think the presence of Travis Kelce only helps that, right? So I'm really excited for this offense. I think we're not going to see that ultimate top 10 breakout from Rasee Rice potentially, but those were our expectations for him going into last year, right? I think coming into 2024 without Hollywood Brown, we'd be looking at, okay, top 12 is in his range of outcomes. In fact, the first best ball draft that I did this offseason, I took Rasee Rice at 21 overall, just because I wanted to get some stacking opportunities to come off of
Sure.
that. So yeah, it was high prices, and that probably works out to be not a great return on the investment for that pick, but those were the expectations for him. Previous to the season, they weren't that. So if we just bring ourselves to some middle ground between pre 2023 and post 2023, I think he can
Yeah.
still meet those expectations. You know what I mean? So love me some Rashi.